a lot of what kids learn, a lot of what adults learn about worry, a lot of what they pick up, a lot of what they wish for is that it's going to go away. They're doing things and they're taught things that are about elimination. And when we talked about expecting to worry as the first puzzle piece, this is the pattern we want to interrupt, that you're supposed to do things to get rid of it. So when we externalize it, we're saying two things at once. We're saying both, this is a part of you. It's not going anywhere. We all have a worry part, and you can respond and react to it in a different way.
Welcome to Flusterclux with Lynn Lyons, where we talk about how to manage those tricky emotions that show up in all families. Serious stuff without being too serious. I'm your co-host, Robin, and I'm Lynn's sister-in-law, and I'm here to ask your questions.
And I'm Lynn Lyons. I'm an anxiety expert, speaker, mom, and author, and I've been a therapist for over 30 years. Parenting can be a flusterclux, and I'm here to help you find your way. And I'll even tell you what to do and what to say.
Tell us about the second puzzle piece that we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so the second puzzle piece is one you've heard me talk about many, many times. This is the externalizing worry. So we want to pull it out. We want to recognize the patterns of worry. So when you're externalizing it, this is very helpful for your kids and it's helpful for you because it creates a bit of distance, of course, which is a really helpful thing. And it allows you to see the patterns. When you're externalizing it, it allows you to recognize two really important patterns, two really important things that keep us stuck. And that is the pattern of reassurance seeking and providing external reassurance, and also the pattern of getting caught up in the content of it, which is what you tend to reassure about.
I want to stop you right there, just as I'm hearing what you say, just to make sure that listeners understand the two steps that you're talking about of avoiding reassurance and avoiding getting caught in the content of what your child's worrying about. Mm-hmm. Those are guides for you. It's to prevent you from reassuring your child.
Right.
If your child is freaking out about spiders or bugs, don't go down the path of addressing and solving problems about spiders or bugs.
Right. Whenever we externalize the worry, so this is a tool for your child, but it's also a tool for you because it gives you a different way to talk about worry rather than talking about bugs or spiders or whatever. So very concretely, we're going to pull the worry out. And if you could see me now, I make that movement where I'm pulling it out. Oftentimes when I'm working with kids, I make a farty noise. I say, I'm going to go in and get your worry. And I go, and I...
At what age do you stop doing the fart noise?
I never stop doing the fart noise. The fart noise, I feel like it just transcends all age groups.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But use your own judgment. You know, your 22-year-old might not appreciate that. So you're going to pull it out. And now we're going to give it a name. And the mistake that people make when I'm talking about externalizing worry is they think that I'm pulling out the content. They think that I'm like, all right, so if you're afraid of frogs, we're going to pull out frogs. If you're afraid of spiders, we're going to pull out spiders. No. We're creating a character. We're creating a personification of worry. Remember, we talked about expecting worry to show up. What we want to recognize with worry is that it does the same thing over and over again.
And that it's just a part of you.
It's just a part of you. It's not all of you. And so when we're pulling it out and when we're talking about it in that third person, when we're giving it a name, it allows you and your child to step back from it and really notice what it's doing. Whenever you become an observer of your own patterns, whenever you help your child become an observer of their own patterns, then you're making headway because this thing hijacks you. And then people start to talk about it as, oh, well, she's my anxious child, or she's my worrier, or, oh, I'm such a worrier. Oh, my family is just full of worriers. And it becomes this global way of viewing your responses.
Over the course of the last few years, and we've talked about this in episodes, it's come up in the context of different types of families, different ages of people involved. So obviously, when you are dealing with a very worried 6-year-old, there's a lot of playing into this is a character that isn't you, and the character has a different name, and this is how it helps them understand this is a worry part. But you've also talked about when you have like that tween teen age group where they're a little resistant to this.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is adults get more open to it the same as a kid, but there's that period when they resist and they're like, this is so stupid.
Yeah. And they're more than a little resistant sometimes. They're downright appalled. We were joking saying the farty noise, right? So the real answer to that is I'm going to stop the farty noise at about age 10. Tweeners and some teens are very sensitive to being babied, right? They don't want to be treated like a baby. They don't want to be treated as if they're younger. And what the pushback you'll get from tweens and teens is, this is stupid, this is babyish. So we just have to bump up the language. So for a 6-year-old, I might say, okay, you have a part of you called your worry part. We all have a worry part. So let's pull it out. I talk about with little kids, I talk about the worry part support meetings that they have. So all the worry parts get together. They meet in the bottom of the basement of a church. They have lemonade and brownies. And the worry parts all get together and they figure out how they're going to boss around their kids and their families. We pull it out and we name the worry part James. And then I'll be like, oh, James, your worry part's going to go to the meeting on Wednesday night. And James is going to walk in and be like, oh, right, Lynn Lyons talked about worry parts and now they're on to me. They figured me out, right? And all the other worry parts are going to be like, oh, no, James, here, have some extra lemonade. So we want to play this game with it, that they are recognizing that this child now is in on the secret. Like this child knows how this thing works. We're going behind the scenes. We are going to demystify this thing. That works great for younger kids. And then when we get into that older age group, we want to say, look, it is really important for you to learn about your operating system, to learn how you operate. You have a lot of different parts of you. You have a silly part. You have a competitive part. You've got that part of you that's really great at making people laugh. You also have a worry part. Let's pull it out. Let's have a look at it, because I want you to be able to recognize when this part of you is taking over you, taking over your family. Very helpful with older kids to talk about other worry parts in the family, to look at mom's worry part or dad's worry part or grandma's worry part, so that they begin to see I'm using this strategy, this externalization, just as a way to allow them to observe a part of themselves that they can shift.
So if you have a tween or a teen that you're trying to get them on board with this as a tool, obviously the first thing, if they're resistant, is model it. Start talking about your own worry part and what it's doing and make that normal. Encourage everyone in the family who's willing to talk about it or name it, so that the one who's actually who needs it the most finally kind of says, okay, I get it.
Right. Say you bring this up to your 12-year-old and they're like, oh, that is so stupid. I am not doing that. And you go, all right, look, here's the deal. I know it's a little stupid. I know it's a little silly, but we've been stuck in this rut. And the way that we can change this up is that we have to approach this a little differently. So go with me here. I'm going to pull my worry out. I have worry. You complain all the time about how I'm too overprotective, about how I talk to you all the time about bad things. Okay, I'm hearing you about that. I'm going to pull out my worry part. I'm going to name it Ruth. And when you hear me worrying, I want you to say, okay, so now Ruth is in charge. I want you to call out my worry part. Because the more as a family that we begin to recognize how worry takes over, the better off we're going to be. So humor me here, because right now, I think you and I would both agree, your worry, my worry, dad's worry, whoever it is driving us crazy. We need to shift out of this. We're going to play around with this a little bit. Bear with me here, because we need to find another way out of this. What we've been doing hasn't been working. We're shifting out of this. You sort of acknowledge that it's a little silly. You acknowledge that I get it. You give them that. And then you say, let's play around with this and see what we can do with it. That tends to diffuse it a little bit, for sure. Yeah.
I have another question after this break.
Oh, we've all been noticing the jump in gas prices. Families, we need ways to bring down monthly costs.
And it's summer, so you want to have money to spend on the fun stuff and like the family stuff. more money for that family vacation or that baseball game with the kids, even just a fun dinner out. That's where Auto Approve can help.
Auto Approve is an online service that makes vehicle refinancing easier and faster. It connects vehicle owners with a network of top credit unions, banks, and finance companies to find the best available interest rates. Then it helps handle the paperwork, simplifying the whole vehicle refinance process from beginning to end.
Most people are paying too much on their vehicle loan, and auto rates are actually still historically low. So don't count yourself out.
So here's the bottom line. Auto Approve offers auto refinancing and auto lease purchasing. With refinancing, Auto Approve saves customers money, and they make it easy for vehicle owners to find and compare the best available rates.
With Auto Approve, vehicle owners can lower the monthly payment and get a better rate, or both. They help you save money. Remember, auto loans are still historically low, so get more money for what matters most to you with Auto Approve.
To find out how much you could save, get your free quote at autoapprove.com/Catalyst. That's autoapprove.com/ADALYST. And right now, not only will Auto Approve put hundreds, even thousands back in your pocket, but our listeners that refinance through Auto Approve will get $100 cash sent right to your mailbox. So get your free quote at autoapprove.com/Catalyst. Summer's here and it takes a lot of work to plan the right balance of planned activities between summer camps and downtime.
I know. I share your view that it's healthy not to have every second planned for our kids, but on the weeks my kids are not signed up for day camps, I still feel like some structure is a good thing.
So nowadays, kids can learn new things and strengthen their skills from home with virtual summer camps from Varsity Tutors. It's a good thing to add that doesn't overwhelm everybody.
Varsity Tutors offers 1 week long small group camps on fun educational topics, and it's hands-on and interactive, and kids are just having fun, but they're actually learning a lot too. So it's a perfect way for them to enjoy summer and still make progress as learners. And we're using it to give some structure to a downtime week.
It's a perfect way to sort of add that element that's fun and learning. The cool thing is there's a celebrity aspect to it that's really fun. Kids do challenges hosted by people like an astronaut for the space camp, a TV storm chaser for weather camp, and they get invited to online meet and greet sessions with these stars too.
I know, I love that. I signed my son up for a camp that features this coding entrepreneur who's still in middle school.
The coding entrepreneur is still in middle school.
Yes, but she's like world famous. It's very cool.
They have a partnership with Monopoly where kids change the rules to Monopoly to learn about personal finance and business, where you have to market your properties to get people to land there and pay rent.
I love that. Go to varsitytutors.com and use our promo code Fluster at checkout and save $50 on any summer camp. Okay, so we're back talking about externalizing worry, which is definitely something that everyone who's read your book is a takeaway point that they got. How their kids accepted it and adapted it is, that kind of covers the range, right? Because a parent's on their own trying to do this because they're not actually a client of yours where you're doing it. One of the things I would think for teens and even adults reading the book about their own worry is to understand what you accomplish as you effectively have an externalizing pattern. Tell me about that.
The reason we want to do this is because a lot of what kids learn, a lot of what adults learn about worry, a lot of what they pick up, a lot of what they wish for is that it's going to go away. They're doing things and they're taught things that are about elimination. And when we talked about expecting to worry as the first puzzle piece, this is the pattern we want to interrupt, that you're supposed to do things to get rid of it. So when we externalize it, we're saying two things at once. We're saying both, this is a part of you. It's not going anywhere. We all have a worry part, and you can respond and react to it in a different way. You can begin to recognize that the worry says the same thing over and over again. So what it helps us do is it helps us get out of the content of what you're worrying about and instead gets us into process. So if you name your worry Sylvia has a few stock responses that she brings up. Sylvia likes to create emergencies. Sylvia likes to tell you you can't handle something. And Sylvia absolutely wants to make it about the content. And what we're doing is we're shifting out of focusing on spiders or frogs or vomit or mistakes or whatever. And we're focusing on your response to worry when it shows up. So Sylvia shows up and you say, oh, hello, Sylvia. I want you to be bored with it. I want you to say, all right, so we know Sylvia's going to show up. Sylvia has a few responses. I say to kids, if Sylvia were wearing a t-shirt, what would be on that t-shirt? And that way, the response to it is we're not going to take it so seriously. We're not going to act like Sylvia has breaking information that we need to hear. We're creating that distance, and it gives families a different way of talking about worry in process rather than content.
Well, as a catastrophizer, that's like my biggest worry pattern over the course of doing this podcast with you. It's been so interesting because I absolutely see my response to it. I am amazing of thinking of the worst things that can happen. So something happens with the family, and then I start worrying about a specific element of one of my kids. And I can take that story and just run with it. But because of this, because of acknowledging that I'm going to do it, because I know this pattern, as it's playing out, I recognize that's what I'm doing.
Right.
I don't even fight it. Like I'll still see the end of it, but I'm seeing the end of it like I have subtitles in my own brain movie that says, here's your catastrophizing. And I might even laugh at myself at like how crazy I can take a worst case scenario, for example.
Right.
But it means that then when I'm in it, okay, worry, go off with your pattern. I don't actually fully react to it.
Right.
It's been cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. And that's what we want to do is we want to recognize the pattern. So people are good at recognizing it in other people. Say you have a relative that whenever you go out to a restaurant, they complain about the food. You begin to recognize, okay, look, it doesn't matter what restaurant we go to. It doesn't matter what she orders. It doesn't matter what's on the menu. Her pattern, her process is that she's going to complain that the food isn't good. So then you begin to recognize the pattern. And so then you stop playing whack-a-mole. You stop saying, well, let's try this restaurant. Well, if you don't like the meatloaf, remember you ordered the meatloaf at the last restaurant we were at and you didn't like it. So maybe you should order the pork chops or blah, 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 right? You get out of these debates. The goal is to get out of the minuscule debates that you get into about all the different topics of the worry. So if you were catastrophizing about something and you were saying to me, oh, I'm so worried about this happening or this happening, instead of me saying, well, let's think about this situation and maybe blah, 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 or why don't you try this? I would say, oh, well, that sounds like your catastrophizing part, Robin.
Right.
Right? There's Bonnie Doom, as we call it in my family. So you begin to recognize the pattern. The other thing it gets you out of is offering content-based reassurance. So what happens is that say somebody is worried about spiders, a lot of times what we do as parents is, okay, so let's find out about this spider. Let's do some research about this spider. You know what? There aren't any spiders around here that will bite you and that will kill you. And interesting fact, daddy long legs, their mouth is so small that they can't even bite a human being. And so we start giving all of these facts, all of this information, right? Well, that's not going to happen. You start putting in accommodations. Well, we're going to put in a fancy alarm system, or we're going to make sure that we do this or do that. We're going to make sure that before we go to a restaurant, we look at the menu and we know exactly what's going to happen. If we get out of the content and we start talking about what worry does, worry that we've named, worry that we've externalized, it gets you out of the content and it gets you out of that reassurance game. Because now we have something very predictable and rather generalized that we're talking about. This is how worry works. Worry always says some version of blah, 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 and you can't handle it. Oh, there's your worry. So you've got a child who's afraid to get on the school bus. And instead of figuring out where they should sit on the school bus and who should they sit next to on the school bus and whether or not the school bus driver is mean and whether or not blah, 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 blah. Instead of doing all of that stuff that worry wants you to do, you say, oh, here comes Joe again. This is what worry says. Worry thinks you can't handle it. And we want to have different responses to worry. So that's really one of the key things, is that we want to have a generic or a standard response to worry when it shows up, rather than, well, here's our response to when she's afraid of spiders. Here's our response to when she's afraid of the school bus. Here's our response to when she's afraid of sleeping alone. Here's our response to when the babysitter comes. All these different responses. That's external-based reassurance. Because remember, anxiety, worry wants certainty and comfort. And what we're going to do instead is say, here comes worry. Oh, hello, worry. We know what you're up to. This is what you do. You have to know everything. And worry, you're going to say what you're going to say. You're going to do what you're going to do. We are not putting you in charge. We're going to put you outside here. We're going to have a look at you. We're not going to get rid of you. We're not going to send you to the moon. We're not going to bury you in the backyard. We're not going to use magic to get rid of you. We're going to allow you to show up. We're going to observe you, and we're not going to play your game. That's what this allows you to do.
I think getting this step integrated into the family response is so important. We've definitely heard about the teen or tween who eye rolls at, oh my God, this is so stupid. Of course, their anxiety is like, don't do it. Don't do it. They're grinding their heels in, and they know they know stuff is about to hit the fan.
Right. Yep.
But what if you also hear the kids who say, that's not my worry, that's me, and I'm really upset about this, right? They think you're denying their feelings.
Yep. They think you're dismissing them. So that comes up a lot. That's probably the biggest question that I get when people say, so they're all excited, they're going to put this into place, they're going to externalize the worry, and then their kid says, that's not my worry. Like, shut up, I don't want to hear that anymore. You're not listening to me. I get that a lot.
Or my favorite line I heard from one of our listeners, you're Lynn Lyonsing me.
Oh, yeah, I know. I have kids that the parents come alone to the sessions and then they go home and the parents will start to say something and the kid will be like, you went to go see Lynn again. They're so mad. That's okay. I mean, that's going to happen. Don't be thrown by that. A lot of times when kids say that, then parents feel like, oh, this isn't working or I'm on the wrong track. Expect that to happen. Expect there to be some resistance. And here's your response to that. I know this is really hard. And I know this is a part of you. It's just a part of you that is too big and too controlling. So when that part of you shows up, your feelings are real. The symptoms that you might be feeling are absolutely real. This is real. Your worry part is real. And it's really bossy and it's really tricky. And so I get it that you're angry about this. Listen, I also know that your worry part does not like to be challenged, because the whole goal of worry is to get you and me to do its bidding.
Which means stay comfortable.
Stay comfortable, stay certain, no risk, no discomfort, right? If you say to your child, I totally get that this is frustrating for you. One of the things I do in my sessions with families when I'm introducing this is I will say in front of the child to the parents, look, you guys might think that this is kind of fun for a few days. It's novel. It's interesting. I predict in day 3, your child is going to say, I am not doing this. That Lynn Lyons doesn't know what she's talking about. This is the stupidest thing I ever heard. I predict that that will happen. And in that moment, please remember this moment, because it's okay that that happens. This is not a one and done. This is going to take practice. Stay steady, stay consistent, and say, I get it. The worry is pushing back. I get it. Your worry wants you to be on team worry. It wants me to be on team worry. And the reason we're doing this is so that we don't let your worry boss you around and boss the family around. And you're going to have to repeat that. That's one of the things, too, that I want families to know, is that this is about repetition. This is about practice. This isn't just doing it once and then having everybody say, yay, it worked. This is about managing the struggles of it. It's about adjusting and adapting. Takes a while to get the hang of it, but don't be discouraged if your kid pushes back, if your child gets upset. That's a way that your child is trying to pull you back into the worry pattern, right? People will say to me, well, how long should I do this? If my child is upset with this, how long should I do this before we go back to the old way?
Forever.
Yeah, forever, right? Yeah. So think about that, and we'll be right back.
So, Lynn, how are you liking your Haya vitamins?
I love them. Like, I look forward to taking them.
I do too. My son and I take them, and I love that they have no added sugar. And those other gummy vitamins I used to buy for my kids,
Yeah.
I always wondered if they were just as unhealthy as candy.
I think they were, actually. So my husband takes them too. We are both taking our Haya vitamins. They're sugar-free, they're non-GMO, they're vegan, they're dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, and nut-free.
I love that pediatricians approved Haya vitamins because they're just a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, and they have 15 essential vitamins and minerals.
If you've got picky eaters, this is an easy way to get them vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, all the stuff they need for their little growing bodies.
Haya is so easy. They're mailed straight to your door. And after the first bottle and sticker pack, you receive monthly refills in eco-friendly packaging.
Did you actually use the stickers and put your name on the bottle?
Well, of course.
Okay, I didn't do it. But I mean, I love the bottle. I love the bottle. I'm a grown-up. Maybe I should put the stickers on my husband's bottle. He would probably like that, actually.
So we've worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamins. Receive 50% off your first order. And to claim this deal, you must go to hayahealth.com/fluster. This deal's not available on their regular website. So go to Haya Health, HIYAHEALTH.com/fluster and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Lynn, did you know pandemic debt is a thing?
Yeah, there was a lot of disruption for people with their income and their employment.
If you're paying down credit card debt, a personal loan could be your solution. Loans usually come with a fixed monthly payment and usually have lower interest rates than credit cards do.
Well, that's where Credit Karma comes in.
Credit Karma uses your credit data to find loan offers that are personalized to you, so you can have a better idea of what loan amount you can get approved for.
Comparing loan offers on Credit Karma is 100% free, and it won't affect your credit scores.
And it could save you money.
Are you ready to apply? Then head to creditkarma.com/loan offers to see personalized offers.
That's creditkarma.com, KARMA.com to find the loan for you.
Okay, we're back.
So let's review, because you've talked about these two puzzle pieces. For people who don't know, this is sort of one of the central approaches in your practice, and it's also outlined in your last book, Anxious Kids, Anxious Parents, that you wrote with Reed Wilson. So the first episode for this series was about expecting to worry. And then this one is about externalizing the worry.
Yeah.
You say that these 7 steps that we'll cover all summer build upon each other. So now, if this is something like, if you're checking each of these puzzle pieces off the list, then the first one is like not trying to deny worry. Worry is there, and you're going to worry, and I'm going to worry.
Right.
Totally normal to worry. Now we're trying to separate the worry part of us, learning how to process our worry a little separately from ourselves, using our cerebral cortex instead of our amygdala.
Right. The first step is we're going to expect to worry. That's really all about normalizing it, about saying this is a normal thing that happens. It's okay. So I want people to be more aware of the worry patterns and how it shows up. And then the second step is we're really starting the process of creating our responses to it. And then the next step that we're going to talk about is really how we go at it a little bit more confrontationally, almost, how we're going to step in. After you expect it and after you externalize it, now we're going to get to the process of retraining that amygdala and laying down some new pathways, which is super cool. Yeah.
Did you ever have a little kid say, I've retrained my amygdala?
Yes, I have them say that, and it's very cute. There was one little girl who called it her Amy G. Dalla, because that's the way it looks like when it's spelled. So she would like, Amy G. Dalla. The thing I want to say too is, remember, your worry part is not your amygdala. That's just a little differentiation, right? Sometimes people say, oh, I'm going to pull out my amygdala. No, the amygdala is just the smoke detector. The amygdala is just the alarm system that gets fired off. The worry is what activates the amygdala. So that's an important differentiation, which we'll talk about more as we go along. Yeah.
Okay. So stay tuned for that third essential puzzle piece.
Mm-hmm. The next puzzle piece, the one we're going to talk about in our next episode, is really the meat of the sandwich.
Ooh.
Yes.
And just a reminder to everyone, the registration for our family retreat in Orlando this fall will close on August 1st. So before summer takes you on all sorts of adventure, please go ahead and register. We only have 3 spots left for those who do want to have a private session with Lynn in addition to the workshops. And can I tell you what I've been doing this week for the event?
Yeah.
Talking to balloon designers.
Oh.
I never thought I would get to talk to balloon designers before. It's super fun.
I was out hiking this weekend and I was just really working on noticing the beauty that was around me as I'm at the top of this mountain and just looking around. I got really hungry and then I was just really craving. I was thinking about how we were going to stop at this little store and I was going to get some smart food. And then when I got the smart food and I was eating the smart food, it was like complete pleasure. And I was just like, I am eating smart food.
Something came out that rocks smart food, and it is the best snack, I think, currently on the market.
Okay, what is it?
Trader Joe's
Yeah.
has these truffle flavored high-end Cheetos.
Oh.
And I know that sounds very weird, but if you've had them, it's like a very light Cheeto, like a pale yellow.
Yeah.
Not a Cheeto orange yellow.
Yeah.
And they are a subtle cheese because actually it's like a nutritional yeast as opposed to actual cheese.
Yeah.
But then they're truffle oiled.
Oh boy.
They're the most fantastic snacks in the world. And if you have not tried them in a Trader Joe's is near you, you're welcome.
Okay, so when I go into the little store up in northern New Hampshire, if I walk in and say, hey, I was just wondering if you have truffle flavored nutritional yeast Cheetos, they're going to be like, what?
I'm going to bring some to you from Boston.
All right.
So join our Facebook community so you can ask Lynn a question and connect with our listeners.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Flusterclux. Bye, Robin.
Bye, Lynn.